Greetings and welcome to the Arnold vs. Stallone podcast, the first and only podcast devoted to the 80s, or to the movie careers of the two biggest 80s action names in action movies, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. I am your host, Tim, and joining me is...
As always, Darren.
And we got the two back for you. We took a little time off, but you know what? We're back. We've got a plethora of movies that we will be discussing in the future. I like to say, if you're a returning listener, welcome back. And if this is your first time checking us out, I'll just give a brief summary of what you may expect here. Is we are two middle-aged guys who grew up in the 80s, and we love 80s action movies. And when it comes to 80s action movies, there's no bigger fan than Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. And so basically, we're just going a movie by movie, and when all the dust is settled, we will have a firm idea of who we are a bigger fan of, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone.
That's right, Tim. We've had some great episodes in the past, and if you wanted to relive some of our episodes, then please feel free to check them out.
Yeah, we got a nice little back catalog that we've produced over the last couple months, and so like I say, with each episode we take a Stallone and a Schwarzenegger movie and we just discuss them. And this isn't a comparison of a roundtable discussion debate. I'm not trying to convince Darren that he needs to see things my way, and vice versa, where he's not trying to make me see things his way. It's just we're two fans, and we one day came up with the idea, who are we a bigger fan of? And I was a little perplexed. I couldn't come up with an answer, so we decided, hey, let's just do a podcast, and we'll go movie by movie, and when it's all said and done, we should have a pretty good idea of who we are a bigger fan of. And so far, we've done, this is episode 11. Now, granted, they have not all been Arnold or Stallone's, and so this is actually, episode 8 of Arnold or Stallone. And so I've got an updated tally where I have, out of the 7 movies we've done thus far, I have gone 2 with Arnold and 5 with Stallone, and Darren is actually reversed with 4 on the Arnold side and 2 on Stallone. Granted, there was one where Darren was unable to voice his opinion, and hopefully in the future we'll go ahead and get him involved with that one and even it out. But so far, I'm leaning towards the camp of Stallone, and Darren's leaning toward the camp of Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and we'll just, as an editor's note, our only differences were very hard decisions made. We both very much went back and forth as we were even making the decision on those few that we've just had our not disagreement over, but our
varying of opinions,
different opinions, exactly. And both of our we were very, very discussed. We were right on the edge of going either direction on those. So we were, but so we had to make a decision. We made the decision, and that's the way it went.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's so true. Thus far, there's probably been 1 or 2 real clear cut. But yeah, the majority of them for me have been literally last second. I mean, there's a couple episodes, if you listen to, where I'm literally filibustering and still trying to figure out what it is, and I'm like, you know what, just plant your flag and choose one. And
because that's the whole point of this podcast is to choose one. We can't sit on the fence on either one, even though I'd like to sit on the fence on a couple. We ultimately have to choose.
And again, knowing that it's not a clear debate where it's like, oh God, I can't believe you chose that one, where it's just, we're two different people, and we have, similar tastes in things, and then we also have varying tastes in things, and that's why I like this,
And as we found out through this podcast is the different times you see these movies, and when you saw them, and who you saw them with, and where you saw them.
Yeah.
All very much take effect in any sort of movie.
Absolutely. So, no, I mean, that's a fantastic point, because honestly, to bring that up, the movies today fall right into that category where it's like, I remember seeing them, when I saw them, and then seeing them now, it's just like, okay. And I mean, I'll just go ahead and spoil. Well, today we're going to be talking about 1987's The Running Man with Schwarzenegger, and then 1985's Rocky IV with Stallone. And I think, without further ado, I think this is a good discussion that we can have. And so before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and give our Rotten Tomato score for The Running Man, and that's at a 67% with the critics and 61% with the audience. So that is categorized as fresh. So
Yeah, yeah, a little. So that was with the critics. You said 81, and
67.
with
Yeah,
the audience was
audience is
higher.
61. So the critics are a
Oh,
little higher than the audience. Yeah.
ah,
So, but it's still
interesting.
it's fresh on both sides. So
Sure. Yes. Well, which it should be.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, um, 1987's The Running Man, based on a novel.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like most good movies,
Yeah.
all based on a novel.
It's a Stephen
You
King book
know.
too.
Really?
Yeah, because that
Oh, that's right.
Richard Bachman was one of his first pen names, and so
Okay. You know what? I might. Yes, I think that's right. I think now it's all coming back to me. So, but yeah. So it's directed by. Um, let's see here. It's directed by Michael Glazer,
mm-hmm.
and he's done some other really good movies. And he was also I think he was in Starsky and Hutch.
Oh,
He
okay.
was he was the either Starsky or Hutch, the Ben Stiller one.
Mm.
Not the
Oh, okay. Yeah,
character. So he was the not the blonde guy,
yeah.
the
The
other
other
guy.
guy.
Anyways, yeah, the other guy. So, but yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. The guy from Starsky and
Yeah,
Hutch was directing it. So, but anyways, what a great premise of a movie.
yeah,
I think it's an awesome premise, and I love that. That just the themes are still relevant today more than ever
mm-hmm.
with our constant you know Netflix and all our streaming services. How
Yeah,
this movie sort of just focuses around a game show that controls the country basically.
yeah,
So, but I wouldn't mind. I was thinking I wouldn't mind a remake of this movie. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't think I was upset when I heard they remade like Total Recall,
Yeah.
something like that. I was like that no need to remake Total Recall. It was a perfect movie. Well, we'll get into that later on, but um, Running Man could use a little modernization. It
Well,
could use a little modernization turnaround and
well,
some
it's funny you should
fresh.
say that because there is a new one coming out next year, right?
I remember hearing something about that it was in the works,
Yeah,
and
it's slated for release next summer. So
good. And
yeah,
I hope it's a good director, and I hope they because I would like to see, because like I said, it's a great premise.
yeah. No,
So
I agree. I mean, when it comes to remakes, there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, when I hear they're making a remake, I'm like, really? But no, I'm with you on this one where I think I am curious about the new one that's coming out. I'll probably see
mhm.
it because yeah, it's so true that it definitely. I mean, even though this movie was 1987, it still. I mean, there's still some 80s in there where you're just kind of like,
Mhm.
but I'm
Mhm.
all on board. I'll check out the new the remake because, like you say, I think
Yes,
they could totally if they keep it rated R.
yes, yes,
I think
yes.
there's so much that they can do, and it just
Yeah, so much potential for that movie, that premise, and and of course the not the runners, but what do they call them?
what the
Anyways,
stalkers.
the stalkers. Yes, the stalkers. They can be so you can come up with a whole batch of new stalkers and how they stalk you, and
Mm-hmm.
I just think you could definitely go do some cool new stuff with it.
Yeah.
Definitely, where's to go? But anyways, so it starts off with the food riots and some sort of we're in a dystopian future, and of course Schwarzenegger is a chopper pilot,
Yeah.
um, and he's wrongfully accused of uh, of some sort of mass riot, or of the sort of a massacre,
Yeah.
massacre
Yeah.
that's blamed on him. So
Yes, and
he
it's the dystopian year of the in the future of 2017.
right, yes, yes. There was a lot of these movies, especially back then, that were like just not too far off in the future. It's going to be
Yeah,
nothing to eat,
yeah.
nothing to eat. There's going to be just overcrowding and no food. So yeah, luckily we're we're not quite there
Yeah,
yet.
we're
So
not quite there, but yeah, because I love it.
yes.
It it does the word scroll, where it gives you
Hmm.
the year is 2017, and of course there's
Hmm.
a global economic collapse, and where everything has
Right.
become scarce. Like you said, their food is scarce and work is scarce.
Hmm.
But the one thing the public all, I guess, they use to divert their attention is the television show The Running Man. And but yeah,
Hmm.
it's I always love these movies from that time, where
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
another one, like I watched the animated Transformers movie not too long ago, and I love it where it's like the year is 1996 and the world is not even, I'm just like, yeah, we're like 30 years away from that, but or 30 that yeah, we're 30 years past that, I should say. And
Right.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, it's always the same sort of it reminds me of either They Live,
mhm.
kind of like that, where it's you got sort of the dystopian future, of course, Soylent Green and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So um but and of course the great RoboCop. That's one
Yeah.
of the best dystopian futures,
Yeah.
so um anyways, yeah, so we got so of course he gets wrongfully accused and he has to go to a prison. And this, for some reason, this prison is full of liquid metal and sparks flying everywhere,
Yeah.
and looks like something from where they're mining hard steel or something. I don't know
It's
exactly what
funny. It
they're
made
doing,
me
but
seeing this scene. I was waiting for Rambo to come walking up to him because it kind of looked like the same prison camp he was in Rambo
yes,
too. Or
right, yeah, yeah, they're both in the same prison camp, breaking rocks
they're
and then
doing
going
hard
into some
time
sort of
together.
crazy. It definitely, yeah. First they're breaking rocks, then he's in some sort of weird shop with sparks and liquid metal and
Yeah.
everything. I'm like, sure, that's they let prisoners get right around that stuff.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but they're all walking around with these dog collars, electric dog collars, that'll basically keep you in the prison. There's
Mm-hmm.
no fences or anything. Once you pass this certain line with these monitors, it will blow your head off if you run past these lines. They're little explosive devices in these dog collars.
Yeah.
So we see everybody walking around with these dog collars, and then of course we have the great Yef. I can't
Yeah. The
Yefet
Yafet Kodo.
Yefet Koto.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, I love him. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
Live and Let Die.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
Oh yeah.
Big.
Yeah. Yep. No, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that this movie also has, it has him, and then it has Odd Job. So you have two ex James
Yes.
Bond
Two X.
villains.
Exactly. I know. It's the casting in this movie is awesome. We'll
Yeah.
just first off say that right off the top.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to give Richard Dawson credit as he's
Richard Dawson,
the
yeah.
TV
So
the host of The Running Man. I think. I mean, granted,
mhm,
even though he was the TV host of the Family Feud for years, he like his role he played it perfectly. I think because you don't really think of him as an actor, but I loved him in this movie as the
yeah,
slimy.
yeah, and I was reading that he basically um, uh, almost played a version of himself in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Basically, just he kind of was that way in a lot of what I read,
Hmm.
allegedly. I don't know, wasn't there, but I guess, but yeah, what he's perfect casting because you wouldn't,
Yeah.
but he was actually a great game show host.
Hmm.
I mean, when you think about game show hosts, of course, he was from originally from Hogan's Heroes,
Okay.
so which was crazy TV show. But yeah, So this is the cool thing about this movie is this is the first time we're actually seeing like digital. They're trying to break digital codes,
Yeah.
and there is no analog or anything. This is they definitely hit the money on that. I mean, because that you know you could be just what they're trying to enter almost looks like when your bank sends you a number to punch into your smartphone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it almost looks just like the same thing. I was like, wow, that actually kind of holds up. I mean,
Oh,
be
definitely.
different, a little cleaner of a graphic, but it's definitely what you'd be using today to try to punch in the security code for their to disable these uh,
hmm
things that make your head blow up if you run past them. These little monitors that throw a laser beam or something.
Oh, definitely. I loved, they had such a clear idea of the technology where we would be, but yeah, like you say, there was still some of the '80s aspect to it, but it was
Mm-hmm.
still the idea is like you say, we're not too far off from that, where it's like, oh, just get the
Right.
code and then you can disable
Yeah.
the perimeter and we can escape.
Yeah.
And
Just punch in the code and you're done. You get out. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty good as far as their the director and that thinking, talking to different people, getting it right,
hmm
what the future would be like. So, but yeah, so of course, you get the classic prison break where
yeah,
they break out of prison and yeah, well, and of course they have a pretty good guy. Before they have the guy running across the thing, you actually see his head blow up.
yeah,
I was like, it's kind of a funny. Yeah, it's funny and it's kind of cool at the same time because you
right.
just see a guy's head explode. But
You got to have the
it's
one,
definitely
yeah, the one guy who can't wait 2 minutes for it to be disabled, but they got to show you
the head blow
the
up. But
circumstances that, or yeah, yeah, where
yeah,
yeah,
so
totally. It's like, wait, he's like, no, I cannot wait any longer. I must run. And yeah, for sure, his
and
head
then
just,
poof.
yeah,
Yeah, so that was it's cool and funny at the same time. But so they uh, so now they're on the run, and I love that they go sort of like into the underground right
hmm
away, and they just figure out they're all in civilian clothes, and then they head to this sort of tent city, which it's like I said, it's kind of like They Live and all these other ones where they have this sort of like underground community all living, but
hmm
but it's all good. It's
yeah.
not like like tent cities that we know
I was like
now.
Demolition Man. They're all the mole people living
Yes,
under the.
right, yeah. So, but yeah, so he hooks up with the underground, and but of course he's an ex-cop,
hmm
and they don't really want to disable his monitor thing and because the underground thinks he's a plant and whatnot.
Yeah.
But he basically talks him into it. Now he's one of them, and so he heads off to the city, which is always the classic, uh, you know, smuggled into the city that's very heavily
Yeah.
guarded,
Yeah. Just
and
walking freely and just whistling all. It's like, don't mind me, even though I
right,
am, internationally famous because I think they dubbed him
right,
as what the butcher of what was it?
butcher of
Yeah,
yeah,
butcher of Bakersfield.
butcher of Bakersfield. Well, and then, like you said, then Richard Dawson shows up, does pull into in with a Maserati limousine.
hmm
That's actually, I was like, damn, that's a pretty cool car, dude.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah, I thought it was
I
cool
mean,
too.
seen him use a Maserati limousine before, so I don't know where they got that for that, but I was like, damn, someone had to build that. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool. Don't know if it was a good car or not, but so the his assistant is the guy from the bad guy from Ghostbusters 2.
hmm
He's sort of the Walter Peck of Ghost. His assistant. He's plays that same Richard Dawson's assistant. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, the
the big guy.
that guy. Yeah.
Let's
So
see.
if that's the only way I can know who he is. He's been on a million things. He's a character actor. If you saw him,
Yeah,
you're like, oh, that guy. I've seen him in a million things. I can't remember his name
let's
off of my
see.
head, but
Sven
um,
Thorson.
okay.
I think
Or
that's.
no, or no, I'm
Or are you
not
thinking of
his. I'm talking.
Kurt Fuller?
Yeah, I'm not talking about the his bodyguard. No, his bodyguard was actually Sven, like the guy Sven you were talking about. Yes, his bodyguard, and he was in he's Schwarzenegger's friend, and he's been in lots of movies as well. He was in Conan,
Yeah.
and in Mallrats. Wasn't he the
Oh,
security guard in Mallrats?
that's right. I think he was LaForce.
Yeah. So he's been in lots of movies. Um, but anyways, so now we see Jesse Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
So is this our second Jesse Ventura
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger movie?
Yeah.
See, I always thought they went the other way. I always thought it was this and then Predator,
Mm.
but it must be Predator this because you always hear about like stories about them in Predator about them playing pranks on each other and
Yeah.
being at the gym at but you don't hear anything about Running Man and them
Yeah,
and
because
Jesse
they
Ventura.
both came out in '87, so I think they. Uh,
Captain Captain Freedom.
yeah.
Yes, Captain Freedom. Anyways, so Schwarzenegger's on the run and decides to go to his uncle or his brother's place, but it's actually now belongs to Maria Conchita.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Rita Conchita Conlanzo or Alfonso.
yes, and she Alonzo, right? That's right. Okay, and yeah, she was also in the second Predator movie.
Yeah.
So, um, so there's another tie-in with the Predator series.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember watching this going, she looks familiar, but I couldn't quite, put my
Mhm,
finger on it. So I had to, I'm like, oh shit,
right.
yeah, she was in Predator too. So
Uh,
with Bill Paxton too. He's also
with
in
Bill
Predator too.
Paxton.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's another Schwarzenegger, Bill Paxton sort of connection,
Yeah,
right?
kinda.
Almost like Kevin Bacon, kind of.
yeah.
So, so, um, so, he sees that,
Oh, I
uh,
I think before I loved where everything was controlled by passwords where
remote.
yeah, where
Yes.
he had to push in the digital password to get into the or get access to the apartment. And I can only think of watching him put in the password. I'm thinking that is Spaceballs all the way, where it's 445566. I was like that's the
What?
code only an idiot would have.
That's an idiot have as his luggage. Yeah, that's great. I didn't even see that. That's awesome. Yeah, I know. And then he basically, and then you see, she's watching TV and you see Jesse the body is on a like some sort of like aerobics instructor,
hmm Yeah, like
fitness guru on TV, and he's working out, and it's funny because he actually was a pretty good actor for what he was.
oh yeah,
I mean, he's selling it, man.
yeah,
He's like he's definitely not wooden or anything like that. I mean, Jesse was definitely he
yeah.
was he was uh, he was selling it as Captain
Oh,
Freedom.
I agree. I mean,
So
even with the voice, he's like, "Are you ready for
yeah,
a workout? Well, then come to the Captain Freedom workout."
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just he was definitely he's a character.
hmm
So anyways, so but yeah, like, once again, yeah, everything's remote controlled. And it's like they were close. Just
Yeah,
everything's on your phone now.
yeah,
So, I mean, they were doing it off the TV, but now everybody just, they didn't,
yeah,
but basically,
yeah. Like she comes home
so
and she's like, living room lights, and the lights go on, and she's all coffee
that's,
maker, and the coffee, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's Alexa nowadays,
that's Alexa. Exactly. I mean, it's just, yeah, and you got to think about 2017, that was even closer
right?
to that
For
because
sure.
they were popular back then. And, yeah, it's all that. And, so they have to get a travel pass to go anywhere because obviously it's some sort of very controlled
hmm
society. So, but they go to the airport and he does the classic. Oh, can't my wife can't find anything in her
Yeah,
purse.
yeah,
It's just like,
yeah. He's kind of
I don't know if that
kidnapping
would have.
her. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that would have worked even then.
Right.
But
You
maybe
got so much stuff in here. It's giving the security guard like
yeah.
her lingerie, and he's finally like, no, 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 just waves them through. You're good to go. And it's
Just waves
yeah,
it through. Oh, just go because people are complaining in the back, and I'm like, I'm not sure that would work, but
right.
okay, we'll give that a especially heavily controlled freaking. That's the whole point. Is
yeah.
everybody has to have a pass, but that's okay. So and then the last minute she basically screams, it's him,
Yeah.
and gives him up for the cops to catch him.
Yeah.
And big scene where he runs, and then they shoot him with a giant net while he's running.
Hmm.
That was pretty cool. That's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever seen one of those dummy nets, and
Yeah.
they shoot a giant dummy net at him and catch him, and then but so now he's back in jail, and they got him, and so Richard Dawson basically goes to him, says he sees him on TV escaping, and goes, you know what, we need to get that guy for the Running Man.
Yeah.
So he's like, it does everything he can to get. So now Schwarzenegger's there, and he's got to. Richard Dawson's explaining to him that if he goes on the Running Man, that he might have a chance for freedom.
Right.
And but he's against it, and he says, you know what? If you go on it'll be if you don't, then your buddies, they're basically going to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, and he says, fine, I'll do it because I don't want the guys, because they catch all of them.
Yeah.
All the guys he was out with, and they all basically says, they got to do it if you don't. So he says, fine, I'll do it. And so they so they do, and it's it's almost like a Total Recall later on, where they have him sort of in this giant sort of back on his back on a chair, and they're shooting all these different things into him, and
Like giving him vaccinations or something, or
giant needle goes into his arm and it's their his hand and stuff, and that part's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But so, and then so then boom, they do a tag him and bag him. He gets knocked out till the game time, and then wakes up, and he has a skin tight uniform on.
Yeah. Yeah, totally get the spandex with his name on it. I love it has the Adidas logo on the right sleeve. It's like this episode is brought to you by Adidas and you.
Yeah, but then you have the giant betting pool going on outside, where you have all the different this game basically controls the entire country.
Yeah,
somehow, and it's like sci-fi is great because it can definitely like show society with its downfalls.
Oh, for sure.
It definitely points on people's overemphasis on entertainment, electronic entertainment, basically.
Yeah, taking their minds off the everyday life. Here, watch this guy run for his life, and
watch these prisoners run for their lives, and basically how brutal society. Because now we have little old ladies.
Yeah.
Watching this thing, and they're going, yeah, kill him.
Yeah.
And back then especially, that was kind of shocking to see little old ladies go,
yeah, rooting for death and stuff, and I hope he gets mutilated, and and I love too before they take him to the game floor, he sees Maria Conchita. She's trying to buy a soda with one of her coworkers, and of course it's $6 for a soda. And
right.
She sees, they make eye contact, and then of course a friend is like, "Oh man, he's brutal. Aren't you glad he didn't kill you and then rape you, or rape you then kill you?"
Yes, it's such a weird.
Yeah, it's the one thing I will say about that whole slew, because then it she sees on TV where they show him being recaptured, but then of course they. Make it out to be more than it was, where he, kills the guards and, leaves a trail of death and blood behind him. And she's like, wait a minute, that's not really happened, which invokes her to look into the actual, the Bakersfield massacre, where she finds out that, wow, the media has been lying to us type of thing, which, I get it, you need it for the story, but it was just kind of a quick, where first he kidnaps you, and now you're like, well, maybe he really wasn't that bad. I mean, because really he wasn't really. I mean, he did take her against her will, but at the same time he wasn't, But it's Schwarzenegger, so I mean, he was still thick cut, looked like marble,
Yeah, the gal's trying to explain to her, you're lucky. He could have basically killed you and raped you or whatever.
Yeah.
Or attacked you or whatever she was saying, and. And he was like, I think she was trying to say, I think they were trying to say that, he is the good guy because he didn't do that.
Right. Yeah.
And then she's, but the way that gal says it, it's very like she almost was like disappointed that that didn't
Yeah,
happen
yeah,
or something. I don't know. It's very strange. Uh, anyways, so they they do the yeah she yeah like she basically tries to she finds out she gets evidence that he did not commit the massacre
yeah,
and um but this whole time you're watching them get ready for this amazing you know game show that everybody loves and we see the commercials before the game show
yeah,
starts and one of the big ones is Cadre Cola
yeah,
so that's the big running joke throughout the movie is this Cadre Cola. And obviously they must not have wanted, no real soda company wanted to get a part of that, because obviously they're the corrupt, evil
yeah,
ones running this thing.
yeah.
So it's obviously it's another, and it's another sort of talk about society's corporations or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and then of course they show another game show which is Climbing for Dollars,
Climbing for
which
dollars. I'd watch that. Guy climbing
right,
up a
and
rope trying to grab dollars with just ravenous
yeah, it's
dogs
with
barking at him out
giant
the.
pit bulls trying to, yeah, or whatever, were trying to attack him. So, um, yeah, and so, but then of course, when the show starts, they don't just go right into the show. They have a sort of little entry, and it'll start off to the show. And of course, we have the great solid gold dancers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, if in the '80s, they were the solid gold dancers were one of the hottest,
Yeah.
you know, girls in the
Yeah, they tried putting
doing
them in
the
everything they could. I love where he's,
everything.
like they're putting him in or taking him to the launch tube, and the girls are just dancing all
Yeah.
up on him and just stretching and sticking their
Yes.
ass in his face, and it's just like,
Oh, and it's yeah, and those solid gold dancers, I think they were everywhere
yeah,
back in the '80s. I mean, they had a whole show on them,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean, that was a whole business unto themselves. They're kind of like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Just
mm-hmm,
put them on every TV show, every movie. Just let's stick them in. Okay, great. Just
yeah,
how why they should be. I don't know. Have Mork and Mindy meet the Dallas Cowboy
right,
cheerleaders.
yeah,
Okay. So, but then of course we see Buzzsaw, that one of the second guys we see,
yeah.
and I can't remember who that's.
Let's see. Says
He's
his
not
name was
really known for
yeah
much,
Gus
but
Rethwich.
yeah,
I don't, but it doesn't really give me any more than that. So
yeah, yeah, and then but yeah, yes, yeah, like you said, the $6 for the soda that was pretty funny.
mm-hmm.
So, um, but so we see that I don't know. So then they get shot down. So let me see him, and he's in this little like a tube, like you'd see where at the bank.
Mm-hmm.
They put him in a little pneumatic tube and shoot him off down the. For some, I don't know what the point of the shooting him through a tube
Yeah, that one was
was,
kind of
because
like
I'm like, who's that for?
right.
I mean, it's not for him, and it's not for the audience. It's for our audience, but not the actual people watching the show.
Yeah,
Was there cameras on it? I don't know. So
yeah.
it was weird that they had to shoot the guy so far away from the starting point of
Of course,
the show. But
I will say too. We also get the what is it? The fourth time where he says, "Hey, Killian." He's like, "Huh?
oh,
I'll be back."
that's right. You're right. I almost passed that. Thank you for. It's the third. It's
Is
supposed
it
to
the
be the
third?
third. I'll be back.
Let's see, because it was
Yes.
Terminator
Right.
and then Commando. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is
Commando.
the third
Yeah.
command. Yeah,
Right. So the third of that. Yeah. He goes. Gillian says, I'll be back. He goes only in reruns.
yeah,
And but yeah, we boom. And then they go through the little tube thing, and and the old little old woman is sitting there. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
basically, guy to come after him.
Yeah,
And so the little old lady yells sub, so she picks Sub-Zero, and it is kind of funny that they get to choose which guy comes after you to kill him.
yeah,
That would be what you do though.
yeah. No, it's
I
true.
guess.
Audience participation.
Artist, yeah, that's a big part. It's just like nowadays would they vote for the America's talent or whatever the shit that was.
Yeah, yeah.
So Um, uh, so yeah, so they start fighting on an ice rink.
Yes.
Um,
Of course, I think we forgot to mention that his two friends do join him in the pit of where he was
oh
told they weren't
yes,
gonna, and then of course Killian's like, "Well, here they're gonna join you
yep,
anyway."
yes. He double crosses him and shoots him down the tube as well.
Hmm.
And so they run this little gauntlet, and these guys are chasing after motorcycles and chucking stuff at him, and they kind of herd him over to this one area, and then the little old lady says Sub Zero,
Yeah.
and out of nowhere here comes Sub Zero,
Yep.
which is the odd job from James Bond,
Yep.
and and of course the butler on Pee Wee Herman.
Hmm.
He
Yep.
was created, right? Pee
Yep.
Wee's Big Adventure.
Yep.
So yeah, so he's what's he say? He's taking a bath or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Where's Francis? Francis
Where's
is
Francis?
busy. Busy doing what? He's taking his bath. Oh, really? Where are they hosing him off?
That's still a
That's
great
one.
movie.
That's oh yeah, I love that. I'll always love that movie, but which
So
it's funny.
yeah,
While he's attacking them on the ice rink. The other thing that jumped in my mind was total Strange Brew, where he's where
oh yes,
that's what it
yes, the
reminded me
ice
of.
rink.
Yeah.
Yes, the ice rink. Yes, the ice rink of kill. Yeah, I've watched Jedi 17 times. Eh,
It's like, he was in the crease. He was in the crease.
it's in the crease. Doesn't count. Doesn't count. So so they fight on the ice rink, and it's not a bad fight,
Yeah,
but
it's okay. Yeah.
it's okay. That's but he kills him with razor wire. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's the ending's pretty cool. Rips him around,
Hmm.
kills him with the razor wire, and slices his throat, and everybody's in shock because this must be one of the first times that an actual um, what are they called again?
Yeah, like the
can't
Running
remember
Men, where the Running Man
the
actually kills us. Oh, a stalker. Yeah, the stalkers are the
stalker.
ones. Yeah.
The stalker gets killed,
Yeah.
and so they're all in shock, and so they said, so of course they keep the guys keep running,
Hmm.
and of course he could. Well, at first though, Schwarzenegger yells at the camera, "Look, Sub Zero now, Lane Zero."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an awesome line. They're trying to do the one-liners, but they're not nearly landing like
Oh
the
yeah.
other movies.
Yeah, they're not as fluent as for sure,
They're
but
not.
I'll give them
Kind of
credit for
like
trying. But yeah.
they're trying. They're trying to throw some in there, which I appreciate. And so they so now they take off, and they decide, okay, well, who's next? And they decide to pick two.
Yeah.
She gets a bonus. She gets Buzzsaw and Dynamo,
Yeah.
which Buzzsaw, once again, we've already said who he is. And Dynamo, well, if you've ever seen the movie Stir Crazy, he was the gigantic dude who they have to share the cell with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I can't remember his name in that.
Yeah.
His character's name is it's like Beef Burger or something like that,
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen that movie
he's
in
the
a million
gigantic
years. Yeah.
dude. Yeah. So he's in that, and he's in this, and apparently he was an opera singer.
Really?
And so when he was singing an opera in this Running
Uh-huh.
Man, yeah, that's really what he has. Is some sort of
Right on.
yeah. In a way, and everybody, he looks just almost like King Kong Bundy's brother.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, that's the best way to describe him. If you don't know who I'm talking about,
Yeah.
everybody knows who King Kong Bundy is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so they decide they catch old Maria trying to get the goods to show that he wasn't responsible, and they decide, you know what, we're gonna try her, convict her,
Yeah.
and now we're going to throw her into this game as they're playing it, and they sort of shoot her out there, and now she's a running person.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
Uh,
That is very politically
So-
correct. Yes, she is a running person.
so So she's running and catches up to him somehow, or they stick her halfway through. I'm not sure how they
Yeah,
did it, but
yeah,
so uh, so then of course they have she's trying to help them, and so he's fighting them off. The two of them are fighting, and then the Maria and the sort of the tech guy, they're the third escapee.
yeah.
They're over trying to get the
Like
trying to get
the
the
code to
codes so they can
bypass the broadcast signal.
the broadcast signal, so they can start, so they can sort of have a reason for doing all this.
Yeah,
And if they can get this code and get free, we can figure this thing out. And so, but Buzzsaw's cruising around with a chainsaw on a motorcycle.
yeah. I
I
thought,
mean, that's
yeah, that was badass.
I was like, that's very very hard
Yeah.
to get that one.
Of
So
course, they mentioned too before, he's in the field that his chainsaw is specifically made to cut through bone and steel and metal
mhm,
and
yes,
whatever, So
yes,
it's
yes, yeah.
so
It's it's pretty cool. It's almost like a lightsaber-y
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
or it's definitely Ash,
right, yeah,
Ash,
yeah, yeah,
Evil Dead. So
definitely,
pretty cool. But so you get a lot of '80s tech talk between the nerdy guy and Maria, and they're trying to talk all this. But the thing is, it's when if you listen to it, it actually makes sense to us now.
hmm,
There was a lot of '80s talk that you didn't understand in the '80s,
right,
but when you listen to it, they're like, "Yeah, we're going to download this to that and that," and you're like, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
this is
totally.
all
We can
what we
bypass the
would do today."
signal, and yeah, yeah. Where back
Yeah, and
then I
you're
was
like,
like,
"Oh,
huh?
yeah." It sounded very techy back then, but now it sounds so common to us. It's just like, "Yeah, so download the thing. Okay, great."
Yeah, totally.
It's like,
You got your Bluetooth hooked up to that too while you're at it, there, fancy guy.
so yeah, it's definitely they did their homework on that, but so um, he, they somehow get to and then of course Dynamo's on a little electric kind of a golf cart thing, and
Yeah,
he's zipping around and he's shooting electricity at him,
yeah.
and
Very
he
Raiden-esque of Mortal Kombat too.
yes, very Raiden-esque, yeah.
And I need to mention too, his outfit was very light bright, like he's got this
Yes, I
helmet
forgot.
on with little light bright like pegs,
Yeah,
and
yes,
I mean that
yeah,
for as good as this movie was, as far as I guess ahead of its time for the technology
mhm.
nomenclature they were
Well,
using, some of the
yes,
costumes were very
right.
80s.
Well, it just this movie needed John Carpenter. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
If John Carpenter would have directed this thing, I think we would have had a lot better stalkers, a
yeah,
lot more imaginative stalkers.
yeah,
Than but
yeah.
when
But they
yeah, he
weren't
definitely
horrible. They
they
weren't.
weren't horrible,
Yeah,
especially for the '80s.
right.
But because they're trying to, and I get what they're trying to do. Buzzsaw, he's a chainsaw, okay,
Yeah,
but Dynamo Electric, they're
yeah.
trying to make him some electric guy, but
Yeah, and even some of the others that we will get to shortly. Or
yeah.
but
Uh, so pulls he pulls him off the motorcycle, and they kills him. Um,
it's like what he just sticks his chainsaw on him, like gets his chainsaw from him or
yeah.
something, and
Oh yeah,
just
yeah. They wrestle. Yeah, I think they're wrestling, and then he basically overpowers him and cuts him in half with his own chainsaw,
yeah,
basically. And Dynamo gets kind of stuck in the mud somehow. They're
yes.
chasing him, and he gets stuck in the mud and
He's like
can't get
chasing the
out.
girl, which I'm going to go ahead and say this
Oh,
because the girl had some. Oh, I can never get her name right, but the Dong, Tommy Chong's
Ray,
daughter from
Ray Dong
Ray
Chong.
Dong
Ray
Chong.
Dong
Thank you.
Chong.
I'm going to get that name
Yeah.
down sooner or later, but it seems like a lot of Schwarzenegger movies have a Ray Dong Chong type character,
Yeah,
type woman character.
that's
Where
that's exactly what I was going to say at the very end. Yes, so we'll
yeah,
go right back to that Ray Dong Chong at the very end. Yes, so yes, so she's chasing after her and the Dynamo and gets stuck in the mud, but before that though they get the nerdy guy gets the code,
yeah,
and he tells her the code, the code. Remember this code. Remember this code. and boom, he gets killed.
Yeah.
So so the nerdy guy, he's done, but she's got the code.
Yeah, she's got the
So
code.
um, so they so now Richard Dawson's pretty upset because he's lost two stalkers
Hmm.
and one stalker's basically stuck in the mud out of action. So he basically kind of pipes in some a direct feed to his monitors wherever he's at and says, "Hey, why don't you become a stalker? You'll be rich, famous,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, have an easy life. We'll get you out of this, and you can be a stalker because
Yeah.
you're the best, you know." So, uh, um,
Yeah, we should
uh,
mention he's offering still Schwarzenegger this.
yes,
He's
yes.
like, because then the other guy, he also gets he dies from his injuries too. I think he took a
Oh,
saw
right.
from Buzzsaw. He
Oh,
gets
that's right. That's right. Yefat as well
yeah,
he gets killed at the same time. So now he's by himself. So
yeah,
the nerdy guy and got killed, and the
yeah.
Fed
He's
gets
got
killed.
him and the
So
woman, and of course
it was,
you get
yeah.
his buddy gives him the last. You need to make it out of this alive because I don't want to be the only asshole in heaven. It's like, okay, I
Yeah,
guess, that doesn't make
it's,
sense, but whatever.
I know
I'll suspend my
it's
belief for that. Whatever. You got me.
but once again, it's trying to make some. They're trying to do good one-liners. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're not landing like they should,
No.
and
I'll give
uh,
them. They're trying. I'll give them that. But yeah.
they're trying. They're they're not nearly hitting as hard. So, but after after he Richard Dawson offers him the position, he says, "Hell no." Not even no, but hell no. And he rips the monitor off the thing and goes, "I'm going to rip out your goddamn spine."
Yeah. God, you thought your goddamn spine. Yeah, that was I thought it was cool. I mean, yeah, it is '80s, but yeah, it was. I'm
Yeah.
going to rip out your spine, and then smashes the camera on the
Smashing
ground.
the thing. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's kick some ass. If he said that to me, I'd be like, shit.
Right. Like,
I'd be
uh-oh.
puckered up a little bit. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I want to move. Yeah. So
I mean,
yeah. So then
I was just gonna say it was like the parallel to Rambo 2, where he's like,
it
you
was.
know,
That's what it's.
"Hey
I'm coming to
Rambo,
get
good to
you,
hear you.
Murdoch.
I'm coming to get you." Uh,
That's what I thought of. I'm coming to get you, Murdoch.
yeah.
So totally coming to get you. Yeah. Once again, I'd be puckered up if he said that to me too.
Oh,
So
for sure.
either
Yeah.
one of them threatens me. I'm like, uh,
Right. When's the next plane
yeah.
out of here? Where are you going? I don't care. Anywhere.
South America, please, sir.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
on my
The
way.
furthest reaches of the universe, but
Yeah,
preferably.
Antarctic. Yeah. So the lady. So he Richard Dawson's talking to the little old lady again, and now she wants to bet on. She wants to bet on Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, you can't do that." And she says, "Oh, he's a mean motherfucker."
Yeah. Yeah. I can bet
And
whoever I want. Yep. That boy's one
and
mean motherfucker.
and just hearing lady in her late 60s, early '70s, whatever, to
Yeah.
say mean motherfucker in the '80s was funny enough as it
I
was.
mean, I'm always
Shocking.
a fan of old people swearing, so I mean, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
like you say,
It
yeah,
would have been
little
be like Sophia dropping
right,
the F bomb.
yeah, yeah, and just so fluently saying it too, just like that boy's
Yeah,
one mean motherfucker, and gets the crowd all cheered up. Yeah, you
yeah,
can.
yeah. So she wants, but so then the crowd starts betting on um,
Yeah, on Schwarzenegger.
the
Yeah,
crowd starts betting on Schwarzenegger, and everybody's excited.
yeah.
So, um, and they chases him through,
Well, I think they call Fireball the old Jim
right,
Brown.
okay. Oh, Jim, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. That's
Yeah,
right. This here comes the great Jim Brown.
yeah,
So Fireball, um, and he is in a silver suit, but
mm-hmm.
but he's got a crazy blowtorch on his
Yeah,
back. Yeah. So like I said, once again, this cast is just it's like It's awesome.
Yeah,
So
and I love too. They gave him the old James Bond rocket pack, or
rocket pack. That's it.
he
I was gonna
just
say they have a rocket pack too. Yeah.
just takes off. There goes Fireball.
And yeah, he chases him into the uh, what's he chases him. Oh, and chases him into the. All of a sudden, it's like the what, like the meat or whatever or something or
Yeah, something. It was like I don't know exactly. Yeah, something like an abandoned school or hospital or warehouse or just something.
yeah,
you know,
yeah, um,
because it seems like they kind of at this point were just trying to, I guess, hurry along the story. I felt where
yeah,
he just like
yeah,
he finds them. Or they see him, he lands and he shoots his, flamethrower up in the air, and then all of a sudden he ends up chasing the girl or the woman, I should say, and
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. But he reaches down and he cuts his lines
yeah,
and so gas lines, and then turns it back on him, and boom,
yeah,
Jim Brown gets boom taken out by his own fire,
yeah,
and so I think I think they were running out of time in this movie, so they were just kind of like, all right, we got to quick take him out, and
right,
so
yeah.
I'm
Because I would
sure in
have
the
loved to have
book,
seen more Jim Brown. I would have loved to
for
see more
sure,
Fireball.
yeah, exactly. They should have cut out other scenes and left more Fireball in. So yeah, Captain Freedom wants to fight fair,
Mm-hmm.
and so he goes down. He's talking to him. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this crap. I want to, one on one. This is a gladiator sport,
Yeah,
and he's
they
like,
have him like in this jimmied up little metal outfit, and he's like, "This is
yeah,
bullshit, Gillian. I've been killing
yeah,
guys longer than you've been." Just going. He's like, "I'm not gonna
yeah.
do it." And
It's totally, yeah. He's great, and he's just screaming at him. He's not gonna. So then, but then, of course, we get one of the first deep digital fakes in a movie
yeah,
because I mean, that which are so common today. And then it's those you didn't even know they could do something like that. But they show this digital fake of they decide that let's take Captain Freedom and have him get killed
or no. So they
hold on, yeah. So he kills. So they have they take a stunt guy and they make Captain Freedom they kill a stunt guy, physically kill him, and they just put Schwarzenegger's face on there, and they make the whole crowd believe that Schwarzenegger is now dead
yeah,
and that Captain Freedom has taken him out, even though they're still running and
yeah,
they're still making it through there. They just couldn't take any risks, and because they have to, in the end, the game show has to win
right,
to
yeah,
keep control of the crowd and all the sponsors and everything coming in. So, but
yeah.
so
Because
they
while they're doing this, the Schwarzenegger and the lady make it back to the underground, and
they
then
they wind up contacting the underground again.
yeah, and so they're like, well, what was it? He's like, oh, we can override the feed, and the guy's like, well, oh, that'd help if we have the code, and we don't have the code. And she's like, well, I have the code, and they're like, really? Yeah. So
Oh, and we do before that though. During the scene, we do see Arnold and Jesse wrestling.
yeah,
So they are in an arena, a ring, I should say,
mm-hmm.
and they're wrestling. So if you ever did want to see Schwarzenegger wrestling, he probably would have been a great wrestler too if
Yeah,
he would have been a movie star.
yeah,
So, but yeah, so they hack into the system, and Underground hooks them up with new clothes and everything, and um, they start heading back to the arena
yeah.
and to where they're at, and um,
Of course,
they
the woman's like, well, why are we going back? They think we're dead. Let's move on. And he's like, we're not. They're gonna hunt us down. And because I think
mhm.
we forgot to mention before the whole show starts, they showed these three previous guys were the winners of the
Oh,
Running
right.
Man, and show them in Hawaii or something, and then it turns out that they actually didn't win because before Fireball kills or before Fireball gets killed, he chases the woman into the locker room where she finds the bodies of these three people, and
Mhm.
And so yeah, he's like, well, we're never gonna get away. They're gonna hunt us until we die. And then yeah, so that's like Darren said, that's when they decide to
Yeah,
gun up and head back to the studio.
they decide they got to tell everybody what's happening, and they sort of he throws the old cigar in his mouth, and they head in, and not much gunplay in this movie.
No.
Uh, uh, just he just shoots a couple dudes when they come back. You kind of notice it once he starts shooting at people because you're like, oh wow, I haven't seen him
Yeah.
really shoot anybody.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, just a couple of bang bang and a bang kick out a couple security guards, and they basically just kind of take over the thing,
Yeah.
and they uh, they start. They start Dynamo. They catch Dynamo.
Oh
He
yeah, that's
looks like
right.
Dynamo's gonna finally get this girl, and
Mm-hmm.
Maria. He's gonna get Maria, and he's gonna attack her. And before you know it, um, he you think he's just about got her, and next thing you know, he's just Schwarzenegger shows up and kills him.
Yeah.
What do they shock him with, or throw him in water or
Yeah, she
something
like
like that?
activates the sprinkler system.
Yes, that's it. Yes, yeah. So so boom, gets him. It was it was kind of a it just kind of I think they just kind of quick tack.
Yeah, yeah, it was very anticlimactic, but
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. Um,
you know,
yeah. So anyways, they find Richard Dawson, and he basically has his security guard there,
yeah,
and he says, "I'm gonna go get more steroids or something like
right,
that," because he basically kind of yelled at him earlier about being on steroids.
yeah,
Richard Dawson did, so he
yeah,
basically tells him that's what he's going to go do, and walks off and says, "You're on your own." And he sticks him, makes Dawson get into the little runner,
mm-hmm,
makes him become a runner in
yeah,
the little machine, but then shoots him into the wall.
yeah.
So it was kind of a yeah.
It was
So
definitely. I mean, like the ending could have been, because it's like how many I'm going to put myself in the shoes of the viewer. How many runners have they seen shot down this tube and safely make it to the end? Well, this one,
right,
it's almost like extra
right,
rocket power, and he just goes flying through the tube and then just blows up at the end, or he like hits the sign of the cola where he's
right,
endorsing and just blows up. And
yeah. So yeah, it's yeah it was kind of it was like how did they rig it for that? But
yeah, yeah. It
I don't
didn't
know.
it didn't fully take me out of it, but at the same
No,
time it's kind of like I try to, again, look, watching these movies again, it's kind of like, okay, don't be overcritical like I have a tendency to
right,
be. And
yes,
but
yeah, yeah. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take you out that much because it's still part of the system, and maybe he just juiced it up to a
right,
thousand,
yeah,
and he was supposed to shoot it at 20 psi, and he did it 100 psi or something, and
yeah.
so who knows? But
Well, I will say on the other hand
so
too, it's that's what I loved about these movies is they didn't like it was an end. It may not have been logical how it ended, but at least it was an end, where it wasn't
yes,
drawn
yes,
out or
yes,
so it's like
yeah, and
pick your poison, really.
right, and well, and this is why I say this needs a little bit of a remake.
Hmm.
There's definitely some flaws in it, like we said. The some of the costumes,
Yeah,
some of the ending, sort of the motivation. It's a little, the definitely needs a little fine
yeah,
tuning, but
right.
the premise is great. But so everybody cheers when he dies for some reason, um, and then. And then very, like you said, very much Commando Ray Dong Chong style. Uh, him and Maria hook up
Yeah,
and do a big smoochy mooch, and you're like, wait, what? Wait, why?
right.
You
Yeah,
guys had zero romantic interest throughout
yeah,
this entire show. You just anything, you're just more like friends, that kind of
yeah.
comrades or something. But why do you need to hook
Hmm.
up?
Right,
Like,
right. Yeah, we don't need the lovey ending for sure. No,
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And it's just sort of very tacked on. Like let's just get them to kiss and let's move on. You're
Right, let's
like,
just fade to
okay,
black. They live happily
yeah,
ever after now. And I will say though, I really liked her little spandex suit they had her in. I mean,
oh,
she was a pretty good,
very
very good looking woman back then in the
very
day.
attractive, very attractive.
And so, you know, I
Yes,
mean,
yeah,
I almost want to come up
yeah.
with a Ray Dong Chong meter or something. I mean, she wasn't full on Ray Dong Chong, but she on it. It's
Uh,
funny after thinking, you know, watching Commando just recently and these other movies. It's kind of like, wow, that was so kind of Ray Dong Chong ish. How she was.
just
It's like how
just
Ray Dong
kind of
Chong was she?
tacked on there. Yeah.
But yeah, and so
So yeah, but it's just the way it goes. But what a shitty ending music too.
yeah,
You know, like I that's one thing I realized about this is like the score not so good and no real good music out of it or anything
no,
like that.
yeah,
So
it was. And I almost kind of feel
yeah,
like they wanted to do too much euphoric kind of
uh,
doom and gloom, or some of it did have that doom and gloom to it. But yeah, it was just
but you think about this. This is before Jerry Springer and stuff like that, and it could
yeah.
have very much been very that's kind of it was almost
Oh,
Jerry
for
Springer
sure.
esque.
I mean,
You know.
I just some of the thing, you know, like the climbing for dollars. I mean, look at
Mhm.
so much shit that they make nowadays, you know, where it's like
Mhm.
people are into it, and it's like, you know, I
Mhm.
mean, granted, it's not, you know, running for your life and being murdered or anything, but it's definitely some far out there ideas that they make shows out of, and people just eat it
Yeah.
up, and so it's just it's pretty impressive, really, how I don't know if they would say
How
predicting
they,
future, but how we've evolved
yeah.
to it. You know, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it's a little bit of art imitating life and life imitating art. I think in a little bit. I mean, it's for a little bit, and it's just like I said, these guys kind of was in their homework and really talked to people and saw how the way the technology and everything was going and kind of predicted, a little bit themselves. And
Hmm.
yeah, they kind of hit it pretty good as far as that goes.
And I will
So
say, I read this book a million years ago. I remember reading the book before I saw the movie. And the one thing that I remember from the book that they didn't do in the movie, and I mean, so basically, the book he ends up in a plane and he kamikazes into the studio where everybody is and kills everybody. And I
geez.
remember that ending in the book going, wow, that was pretty awesome because, of course, you know, with the book, they can elaborate a little more and
Sure,
everything. And I
yeah,
think now I know it's Schwarzenegger and, you know, he doesn't really die in movies and they don't, you know, they want, you know,
right.
you want the happy ending or as close to it as you can get or whatever. But I think knowing the ending to the book, how this ending in the movie is, not that I'm, you know, supporting the ending of the movie, but that was the one thing I remember from the book that like, wow, that would have been cool. But then when I saw the movie, I was like, oh, okay. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
I'd like to read it
and
again because, like I say, it's been
yeah.
a long time. But yeah, no, I mean, honestly, overall, I uh, hadn't seen this movie in a million years. I had actually had to watch it twice to keep my because it's one of those where I remember it, but I wanted to
There's a,
remember.
there's a, there's a lot going on in that movie.
Yeah,
There's a lot. They packed a lot into that movie,
yeah,
and it almost would maybe make a better series.
right,
I don't know, but it's a lot for a movie to
yeah,
try to get it all the backstories and the connections and everything like that. It's definitely a lot
yeah.
to
For not making it a 2.5 hour movie, which I'm glad they didn't because it was
Mhm.
but so yeah, that was
All
the
right. Well,
Running Man.
that's the Running Man. All right. Yeah.
All right, now it's time to take a look at what we got going on the other side of the street, and that's 1985's Rocky Four. And this, or the Rotten Tomatoes for this one, I should say, is not surprisingly rotten at 39% with the critics. However, on the audience side, it's fresh with 79%. So
Huh.
quite
Yeah.
a quite a swing.
Wow. Yeah. But that makes sense with if you look at a lot of the other critics on scores on Rotten
Right.
Tomatoes,
Yeah.
definitely, uh, what do they expect? It's Rocky Four.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I agree.
for what for what it is, it's it's a good movie. It's the fourth in a series of boxing movies.
Hmm.
I mean, there isn't much left at the well to go to.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely. Yeah.
we've we've kind of explored every situation Rocky's had. Uh, I mean, but so to any of our listeners that have listened before, you'll know that Tim and I didn't see these in order when we were kids. The way that it worked was for me, getting it from HBO pretty much because VCRs were still pretty, at this point they were pretty ubiquitous at 85. But before this, uh, not many VCRs were out there as far as normal people owning them.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Not
so,
everybody had one back at this time.
but by 85, pretty much everybody was getting one or had one.
Yeah.
And this was basically the height of the VCR. So the only way to watch things were VCRs or HBO.
Hmm.
And of course, I would go to my friend's house and watch HBO. And so and HBO played the movies as they came out. So as I said, saw Rocky 3 first, and then Rocky 4, Rocky 2, and then Rocky 1. That was the order I saw them in.
Hmm.
So same with the Rambo series. One, I saw 2, then 1, and then 3. But but for the fourth Rocky movie, it's especially as a little kid, this was great. I
Yeah.
mean, this is definitely the big if you're a kid, you're gonna love this movie because it's just a whole lot of
Yeah.
you
The
know
spectacle of this movie was just,
a spectacle.
and it's funny because this movie or this Rocky franchise was still a money printing machine,
Mhm.
and so it was like I was reading. Let's see, the budget was 28 million, and it made over 300 million. So I mean, I can understand why they kept making them. At the
Yes.
time, being a kid, yeah, I mean, just transfixed. Oh, Rocky, right on. But then
Mhm.
again, many, many, many years later, watching them again, it's for me personally. This one, I wouldn't say it changed my overlook on it. I mean, out of all the four Rockies, this was definitely my least favorite one. And
Yes.
when we get to it, obviously, I'm pretty sure people may understand, how I feel that way, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. And now on the rewatch, 30 years later, it's kind of like, okay, I mean, like I say, we'll
Yeah.
when we get there, I'll bring it up. But it's definitely, but
Yeah.
by no means is it a horrible movie, but
Right. And yes, this is the first time I've seen this in 30 something years. Whereas a lot of the other movies on our list, I've actually watched more recently, within the past 30 years or whatever. But this one, it's been quite a long time since I've watched this.
hmm.
And yeah, I've forgotten a lot of it, not some of it, not a lot of it, I
Yeah.
guess I should say. But it's once again, it's directed by Sly Stallone,
Hmm.
as the third one was.
Yep.
Um, this one is definitely have excuse me. This one definitely has a different tone than the other Rocky movies.
Yeah.
He Rocky is as they kind of showed in the third one. Now Rocky is very very wealthy, doing pretty good. The beginning of the movie, they pull up and he pulls up in his Lambo.
Yeah.
So, owning a
The
Lamborghini isn't the worst thing on the planet.
right, the big mansion and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of VCRs, his kid actually has his own camcorder,
Yeah.
and he's recording Rocky walking into the mansion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so definitely, kind of a different, when you compare the first one and living in a little, crappy little apartment in, on the east side of Philly or wherever he is,
Hmm.
to now he's rich, living in the richest part of, it's still in Pennsylvania, because
Yeah.
if you look at his license plate, still Pennsylvania. So he's somewhere around Philadelphia, but must be in the very rich part. Um, so they start off and Polly's birthday, so they're all saying happy birthday to Polly and this and that. And now Polly's kind of become almost a sidekick.
Yeah.
Um, he's almost become some sort of comic relief. Paulie is definitely not the Paulie from the first movie,
No.
which I get,
Yeah.
which I do like this version of Paulie much more than the original version of Paulie.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
definitely not as
Paulie.
abrasive as he, has been
Yes,
portrayed
he
in
was
earlier movies, but
right. Yes, smacking his sister around in the first movie to having a little party hat on in the second movie, or by the fourth movie
yeah.
was is definitely a big. But hey, that's the character arc, and that's good. I mean, he's become lovable and whatever.
Right.
So it's so 80s because he gets a giant robot for
Mm,
his birthday,
yeah.
and
Just state of the art. Just where's my present? Oh, here it comes. Big old 6 foot high robot with like the alien eyes, and
yes,
hi,
and
Polly, happy birthday.
and somehow it's as AI,
yeah.
40 years before AI was created, but somehow this thing has AI,
Yeah.
and it's walking, talking, gets everything, and kind of Polly's freaked out at first and everything, and it's just one of the most 80s things you could have at the time because everything is supposed to go robots in the by the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
So
They're like
of course,
leaning hard into it. I totally forgot about it. When I watched it just
uh,
recently, I totally forgot about the robot, and I was
uh,
just like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" And
yeah. So for a minute there, I almost thought I was watching actually Sly's Real House
yeah,
with him in it. I'm just like, is this just back scenes at his own house? Because this almost feels like it's like shot,
yeah, like in his
at his
own
home or
mansion.
something.
Yeah.
So, um, but and they, they give him a cake. And the kid shoots a bunch of whipped cream at the cake. And I remember thinking as a kid, if I did that, not only would both my parents smack me, they
Mm-hmm.
would have just beat the crap out of me if I
Mm-hmm.
would have tried to put out someone else's cake with a can of whipped cream or so. I don't
Yeah.
know. I was just like, that kid's lucky. I got,
yeah.
and they all just laugh about it. I was like, geez, that wouldn't happen in my house.
No, no,
But
me either.
so, anyways, Rocky decides to bring a cake into bed with Adrian. Kind of a strange, like a big wedding cake. He kind of sits down and they have like a heart to heart. It's kind of a very strange scene. It's kind of some strange scenes in this movie to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the Russians show up, and of course, here's our second crossover.
Yeah.
Is it our second or third? So
It,
this would be our second crossover,
yeah, it'd be the
right?
second. Yeah.
Even though this is the fourth Carl Weathers movie, it's the second crossover, and that is, of course, Sly Stallone's wife,
Mm-hmm.
which we was in.
Yeah.
Um,
The
um,
masterpiece Red Sonja.
it's the masterpiece that was Red Sonja, the unofficial third Conan movie.
Yeah.
So that's how that ties in, if everybody's wondering, because Arnold was tricked into doing the third Conan movie, and they called it Red Sonja. But he didn't realize he was playing Conan again. But anyways,
Yeah.
so
That's episode
Sly's wife,
5 for everyone that wants to go check that one out.
yes, please go back and check that one out. So Sly's wife plays the Russian, and apparently she had no lines in the movie when the character was written. But since it was played by Sly's wife, girlfriend at the time, uh, they decided to give all the lines that was going to the Russian coach to
Mm,
her. So that's why she has a ton of lines in it for whatever reason. She's just oh, Drago's wife.
yeah.
So why she's commenting on matters of the state is very strange.
Yeah.
But
Again, another thing I didn't
anyway,
notice as a kid, but as an adult, I'm thinking, why is she the mouthpiece for these two? Yeah.
so now we know why.
Yeah. Well, that
Um,
makes sense. Got to
but
keep the happy
yeah,
wife, happy
right.
life, right?
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Um, so then we see Apollo, and he's in the pool with his dogs. And I remember I always wanted to do that when I was a kid. I remember thinking when I was a kid, like, oh man, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Because there's no way in hell any of my parents would have let me get anywhere near. even if we had a pool, which we didn't. If I would have gotten anywhere near the pool with the dog, that would
Yeah.
have been they would have barely let the dog inside the house, let
Right.
alone let my dog jump in the pool with me. So
It'll be the last time
him
you got in the
jumping around,
pool.
yeah, the three times it was three giant Labradors or whatever, and they're all he's throwing tennis balls. I always thought that was the funnest, coolest looking thing ever. I would if I was rich, totally that's exactly what I would be doing too. So for some reason, Apollo's got the TV on in the pool, which is another cool move. I love
Yeah.
that. He's watching Drago get talk about the Russians are now in the you know fighting boxing
Yeah.
arena,
Yeah.
and so
And they're like,
Drago goes.
yeah, they're like going on about how no Americans can stand up to the awesome power that is, Soviet boxing techniques. And yeah.
So apparently Apollo gets mad for some reason as he's watching this and decides he's going to go over and talk to Rocky about wanting to fight Drago.
Yeah.
And they're showing Drago, and he's sort of got these computers hooked to him, and it's very 80s and very, very sort of stealth 80s, and all this crazy computers, and he's got hooked to machines, and it's all this computer generated graphics of him, and it's very, very funny to see. You don't know what he's doing or what
Hmm.
these machines are doing, but they're doing something.
Yeah.
They got a lot of scientists, and there's a lot of noises and lights and stuff going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. A lot of cords being moved and attached. And yeah.
Yes, attached and unattached.
Very state of the art
So
for 1985, apparently.
exactly, yeah. So and then so he decides, he basically he tells Rocky, "Hey, I want to fight this guy," and Rocky's like, "Well, hey, I'm the champ still. He's going to probably want to fight me." And he's like, "Yeah, he can fight you after he fights me."
Yeah.
For some reason, Apollo wants to fight him first, and says, "No, we're just going to do an exhibition match," which
Hmm.
I still don't to this day don't know what an exhibition match is. I guess it's just a fight that doesn't count.
Yeah.
Like as far as your
Something. Yeah.
must be
Maybe for charity or
towards
something, or
right, or it doesn't count towards your win record,
right.
your
Yeah.
win and loss record, I guess. So, um, Adrian, voice of reason, says, "Hey, you're actually too old. Both of you are too old to fight anymore,"
Yeah.
which they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both pushing 40 at this point, right?
Mhm.
So, yes, you are too old to fight, especially a guy who's 27 and is way bigger and way taller and way stronger than you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I forgot how
Should,
good Dolph Lundgren looked too. I mean, for being a
he's
young,
just a specimen.
yeah,
Wow. And just huge. Yeah. And I think he was an actual martial artist. If I've heard, allegedly he's some kind of a black belt and something, or was, or,
Yeah.
was, whatever.
yeah, training.
So, so clearly he had some fighting prowess before. Paulo, for some reason he just, he wants to fight. And he basically says that he wants to fight just to see if he still got it,
Hmm.
which is a weird way to want to fight a giant man like Drago. But come on. But it's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
I guess it's one of those things that has to move the story along.
right. Yes. So, so they get in the big fight. So then they have the press conference, and of course they get into a bigger argument, and they start getting into politics and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And it's just kind of a crazy argument at there, and then I think it's just to build more hype. Obviously, they're trying to get some sort of, they're trying to get more at stake
yeah,
here than just Apollo wanting to prove himself. They want to, so they're getting into a huge fight at the press conference, and I'm sitting there going, why are the Russians here? What exactly
Right.
is this?
yeah,
What is going on? Why are they even fighting? Are they actually in?
yeah.
Can't they just stay in?
Yeah.
Russia and be part of their own league?
Yeah.
And if he is, why isn't he just by himself over here? And why isn't he contending?
Right.
Why isn't he going like Mr. Like Clubber Lang? Why isn't he just going up the ranks?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Just
this
being
is,
because I think they build Drago as an amateur at this point. So it's like,
yeah.
and
Uh,
yeah, no, I agree. I was wondering the same thing. I will say that I kind of liked how they reverted Apollo back to being, Mr. Loudmouth and,
mhm.
how he was in the first two
First
Rockies.
movie.
Yeah, with
Yes. Yeah.
just over
Especially
the
the first
top
one.
and,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
yeah,
So,
so that was kind of cool. But yeah,
yeah,
I
seeing
agree.
him
It's like,
talking.
why are they doing this? Okay.
Yeah, because he's talking smack in the conference and everything, and yeah, it's classic Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, very slow start for a movie. That's
Oh
one thing
yeah.
I'm noticing. I'm like, wow, this is But of course, all the Rockies are kind of slow, but compared to Rocky 3, this is very
Yeah.
sort of. It takes a while to actually you know get going.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head on that one. It's definitely
yeah,
I mean, I again, I know why they made it, but at the same time, I'm just like, wow, you can definitely tell the story is very thin. you
it's
know,
it's and it's and pushed,
yeah,
very pushed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
I forgot that like being younger watching it, I thought it was a little more build up, but then like you say,
yes,
after the press conference, boom, we go right into the fight. I'm like, well, okay,
and then yeah, there's it's very very. I mean, it's quick but forced almost, but
yeah,
slow at the same time. But I guess it's a good thing they got to the fight right after that because you're about ready to uh, and so finally the fight happens, which is a very cool build up to the fights.
yeah,
The whole um, Drago sitting on a ring at the bottom, and it all of a sudden just
yeah,
slowly opens up. The floor opens up, and he slowly rises up. And the Godfather of Soul, James
yeah,
Brown,
just yeah,
and I think he had a hit. I think that song was a hit, wasn't
yeah,
it?
it
If I
was,
remember right, that
yeah,
that song like charted,
mm-hmm,
and that guy was in his late 50s.
mm-hmm,
And I remember my dad when this movie came out. I think he was in his late 50s. He was in his 50s, whatever. Um, my dad, I remember him going, "Look at James Brown. That guy was doing that stuff when I was a kid."
yeah,
And my dad was in his 40s at that point. So, uh, yeah, he was, and James Brown still looking like he could, like just like on the Blues Brothers. I
yeah,
mean, just moving as good as ever,
yep,
just putting on a show.
totally,
And I actually really like that song, "Living in America." I really like it.
yeah.
So I
Oh,
liked it then. I like it now. I mean,
it's funny, because I remember the Weird Al version of the
yes,
that he did, and
living,
living
living
with
with a
a
hernia.
hernia, yeah, and just the video. I've probably seen that video more times than I saw because I remember that
Sure.
they made a music video out of the Living in America. I think they just cut it out of
Mhm.
the movie,
Yes.
and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
then again watching the Weird Al parody
Well,
where it's so funny
right.
how he's so similar
Well,
to
that
the
just
things and
that just shows you how big it was too. That Weird Al actually made a parody of it.
yeah,
That's how big that song was. Weird Al isn't making a parody of a song no one's heard of,
right,
so it's got to be in top 10 or something.
yeah,
So whatever that charted at, I'm sure it was high. So, but yeah, so they have the big. He comes down, and of course Apollo's dressed in the full garb, and he's punching the bull in the nose as he comes down. And apparently the bull, I guess he was known as the Siberian bull,
mm,
but they don't say that at all in the movie. They called him the Siberian something or other
yeah,
in another press conference, but they never called. So that part I didn't know until later on.
mm,
That's I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. So they get so this fight starts, and yeah, he just starts beating the crap out of Apollo. Just spoiler alert coming up,
yeah,
but Apollo just gets the crap beat out of him, and uh, I'm watching this movie. I'm going, well, this is an exhibition in Vegas, sanctioned fight. You've got doctors everywhere. You got the ref. There's no way in the world that thing would have kept going
right,
when Apollo sat back down and was basically looked like he was about just had his face caved in. They would have said, "No, we're calling the
yeah,
fight. We're
yeah,
calling the fight
that's
right then
good,
and there."
yeah,
It's an exhibition fight, number one. I
right.
don't know. And Apollo's telling him, "Don't throw in the towel. Don't throw." Well, it wouldn't have been up to Rocky. It would have been up to the ref and the doctors and
Yeah.
everybody else that runs that, and the casino owner. I mean,
Yeah.
the,
Just
whoever was sanctioning that fight. I mean, no way.
and
So
I love it. His face is so battered he can barely mumble out the words. Don't throw in the towel. I was like, dude, you can barely
yeah,
say the phrase. I mean, I think you should walk away from this, or I want to see
right,
you walk away from this. But
right, and Rocky doesn't for some reason. I mean,
yeah,
I would have been like, "No, dude, you know what you're even talking about, bro? Like, we're
yeah,
throwing the
yeah.
towel.
So
Like,
you're
I'm
not going back
sorry."
out there, and I, it's like I love it when the second round started, and he's Apollo just continuing to getting his ass kicked, and Rocky kind of picks up
Yeah.
the towel, and the other guy is like, throw it, and Rocky's just like
Hmm.
the look of
Yeah.
conflict on his face is like,
Right, right. Oh, I can't because he's gonna what lose? I
yeah,
mean, he's losing right now,
yeah,
dude. He ain't. This fight's over.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. He's not coming back from
even
this. It's
if he wins by just, he's not winning by decision. Even
yeah,
if
he's not
it
gonna make
goes
it
the
that long.
distance. So, anyway, so once again, spoiler alert: Apollo dies,
Yeah.
um, and then very strange. All the film crews and media rush the ring,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's like 2 feet off of Apollo, taking tons of pictures, almost like you think about the princess, what's her name when she died, um, and that whole thing. It's like, why did the press corps inside the ring with a dying Apollo? Where are the doctors and the
Yeah.
paramedics?
Yeah.
Everybody else.
Yeah,
Like,
Rocky's the
this is
only one comforting Apollo, and everyone else is just. Then you see Apollo's legs are all spasming and stuff, and it's just.
yeah, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's kind of. It's. I remember being very upset as a kid when Apollo
Oh,
died.
me too, me too, and even just on my rewatch, and I knew it was coming. I still was just
Yeah,
like, ah,
yeah, yeah. He's such a great character.
yeah,
Killing him off sucked.
yeah, and that quick
So
too. Again, like we had mentioned with Rocky, I thought Apollo was in it more. In this one, I thought it went. The movie went on a little longer before Apollo finally
yes,
got killed, but nope.
right.
First,
Yeah.
within the first half hour, okay, Apollo's dead. So, but
And then, of course, you get that if he dies, he
yeah,
dies.
that's right. Yeah, like one of maybe what six lines that Dolph has in this
Well,
movie.
yeah. Well, apparently he did that on purpose.
Mm.
He can't. Dolph Lundgren apparently is also some sort of like, went to college and is a very smart guy as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So he came up with the fact that he wanted to be different than it's like we said, the very sort of outgoing Apollo Creed or the very crazy and boisterous Clubber Lang.
yeah.
He wanted to be completely different, so he went the other route and went completely like silence. And
I think it
apparently
works.
Sylvester Stallone really liked the idea, and that's
Yeah.
why they zoom in on his face and just his eyes more than anything,
Hmm.
and that was on purpose to make him more of a. Which yeah, if he was just a little loudmouth guy, he just would have been another. He just would have been like the another
Yeah, just another. Yeah, he wouldn't have been memorable because it would have been like, oh, okay, we got another trash talker, another Clubber Lang,
right,
or another
right, another,
Apollo,
right,
or
right.
but
Yeah. So boom! Before you know it, they go to the funeral and this and that, and then of course, before you know it, bing bang boom! All of a sudden, Rocky is at a press conference and he's going to be fighting Apollo.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah, Drago,
Drago,
yeah.
and I'm like, okay, that was quick. I mean,
Of course, there
you
was
know,
the montage between the funeral and the press conference
well,
for.
I think that's actually
Is it after?
it's after.
Okay.
But yes,
Yeah, it's like
yes. So
that's right.
yeah, so we have the right. So he goes and he wants to fight Drago in Russia,
Yeah.
and um, it's like why?
Hmm. Well, I think
That part I never. I know. I get that they're trying to build more tension and get something else out of this script, but going to Russia to go fight
yeah,
Drago makes
yeah,
no sense when the sanctioning
no,
body is in the United States.
right.
That's the whole point of the belt. And
I mean, his
rules.
wife did say it's like, well, we feel threatened. We feel, we want to, if we want to do
Yes, they
this
want to
fight,
go
we want it
right,
on our soil because we killed
right,
your
right.
beloved Apollo Creed, and yeah,
Yes,
I just,
yeah,
yeah, I was
yeah.
just, yeah,
It, that one doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but
no,
whatever. It wasn't that bad that you couldn't, okay, fine, he's in Russia. So, yeah, then comes the montage driving, and that's one of the funniest montages I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, yeah. I didn't again realize it as a kid, but then on this recent viewing, it's like, hey, remember these better movies? This is what you're missing out on. So it almost made me want to go, you know what? You're right. Maybe I'll turn this one off and go watch one of the better movies. But yeah, it's like,
Yeah, and then was that Frank Stallone singing?
I think it was.
Uh,
Yeah,
I think it was Frank on the mic there while he's
yeah,
ripping around in his Lambo, going through various neighborhoods, just thinking and driving.
yeah.
So
They're
I
like,
mean, it's like
here's some
that.
scenes from Rocky 1. Here's some scenes from
It's like,
Rocky 2. Here's Rocky overcoming Rocky 3. Like,
well, and it's
okay.
like I've seen this montage 1,000 times in Miami Vice, in this, in
Yeah.
that, in that. It's like I've seen this guy driving at night, running through. It's done 1,000 times. So, uh, so he has this sort of heart to heart with his kid, which is kind of a weird scene.
Hmm.
I don't know that needed to be stuck in there or why. I don't know if that's his. Was that his real kid
I don't
in
believe
real
so.
life?
No.
I don't. I don't know why they kept sticking his kid, like trying to get his kid involved. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he lands in Russia, and of course, it's totally '80s Russia. It's snow. It's cold. It looks like it's like the Antarctic.
Yeah.
When clearly you would have landed in Moscow or St. Petersburg,
Right.
which just has a summer just like everybody else
Yeah.
has. I mean, not that I'm a pro Russia guy, but it was so funny the way they made him look just completely. Just like a completely, and then of course he goes to some farmhouse. It looks like it's from the 1890s or
Hmm.
something out in the middle of nowhere, and it's like the people they look like they're from Tolstoy or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're thinking, is this Fiddler on the Roof? I mean, why are
They're
these?
looking at him like they've never seen an American
Yeah, they've
before.
never seen America before, and it's like this is like, come on, man, this is '85. I get that this is they're sort of
Yeah.
but this is not. They don't just live in with. Oh, what's this plumbing? I've
Yeah.
never heard of plumbing, indoor plumbing before.
Running water? What? That's
Right?
the devil's music right there. Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, you sure couldn't have found something like that anywhere in the United States, right? You couldn't have found a house that's from the 1800s with a running water in the middle of the mountains. Yeah, you couldn't have found that in Montana,
Yeah.
Colorado,
Yeah.
Idaho, Utah, Wyoming. I mean, it's like Nevada. You
Yeah.
probably could have found that I don't know anywhere in the United States. That same setup, but anyways, behind the scenes look. I guess that was actually Vancouver is where they
Ah.
filmed that. So one of the first movies, not one of the first, but one of them. Now Vancouver is just normal.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, so now all of a sudden, and Paulie is still just doing full comic relief at this point. He's eating a snow cone. He's just, blah blah blah. He's tripping in the snow.
Yeah.
He's rolling around in snow.
Like the
It's
bumbling
like
fool.
he's the bumbling idiot. He's just gone full comic relief at this point,
Yeah.
which is fine. Um,
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't make a lot out of that. It was just a scene here or there. It's like, where am I going to watch my
yeah,
cartoons? And then he falls in the snow, and it's
yeah,
like, okay, enough
yeah,
of you.
yeah, yeah. He's eating snow cones, watching cartoons. It's like they're definitely trying to revamp Polly,
Yeah,
which is great because I do like a nicer Polly.
yeah,
Um, so Apollo's trainer is now Rocky's trainer.
hmm,
So just kind of says, "Oh yeah, Apollo is my boy, and now you're going to be training you." So um, whatever. That's kind of cool.
yeah,
Um, and but now starts the ultimate training montage. Probably one of the better.
hmm.
One of this definitely makes this movie is this last training montage. And we've had many training montages, of course, before. So hold on a second. So yeah, the training montage, probably one of the best training montages. We've had lots of main training montages on all the other movies, but this was definitely one of my favorite as a kid.
Yeah.
Even looking back on it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have the old, versus the new, the modern versus the old school,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah, he's like
he's doing
running through the snow, and he's doing
running through the snow, and
the
what's his name?
sit-ups off
Drago's,
or yeah.
and Drago's got he's on the Nautilus machine,
Mhm.
whatever, and he's picking up big rocks, and Drago's doing the one arm cranks or whatever on the reciprocal machine or something,
Yeah.
So it's like being at a fitness gym and then just going at home and just trying to replicate the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool the way because that was a lot of the 80s. That's the way it was. All these gyms and stuff, those were brand new. That's when the fitness craze was sort of
Mhm.
in its height, and there was all sorts of racket clubs everywhere. So everybody got the big Nautilus machines and everything, to equipment. Now we have whatever, but so the KGB, the classic KGB follows him around.
Yeah.
That's the best. The classic. Anybody comes to Russia, the KGB has to follow you around constantly. So I'm like, I don't know if they had enough KGB agents for all that, but so so he starts growing a beard,
Yeah.
and first he does the second log over the shoulders. He's once again like Rocky 3. He's not really into it, and then of course Adrian shows back up, and she tells him, "Hey, it's okay to fight."
Which is funny because before he left for Russia, she, again in her Adrian wisdom, doesn't want him to do it for fear that he may get hurt. And this part, again, as a kid, I never remembered it, but watching it now, I'm thinking he leaves for Russia without her, and then he does this half-assed training, and then all of a sudden she's at the cabin in the middle of nowhere in Soviet Russia. It's like, what'd she take the red eye from Philly to Soviet Russia in the back country? And then it's like
in the 1985.
Yeah, just shows up, and they have no idea she's coming. I will say too, maybe it's just the character arc that they had written for her, but she doesn't want him to fight in every one of these movies. And then she's like, well, okay, something should show up or something should happen, and now I have a change of heart. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe she paid the bills.
Right.
And then went, what, actually.
So he's got this big life insurance, so if he dies, I'll still be taken care of. So why not?
Well, and robots for Polly don't grow on trees, so I mean, you gotta get a few of those things in the back. So, so then after she tells him it's okay, boom, now we get another training montage.
Yeah.
It's sort of one long, but they kind of split it in half a little bit.
Yeah.
And so now he's growing a beard, and he does the thing where he grabs his picture and just crushes it.
Mm-hmm.
Crushes Drago's picture that he's got hanging on the wall, and just crushes in his hands. And so now he's pretty awesome. Like the one where he's pushing up it's almost like they're all sitting in it, and he's pushing like a big wheelbarrow and pushing it up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just jacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, you can definitely see the Rambo 2 physique has been added on, where he was just and like you're saying, the sit-ups where he's hanging over the edge of the rafters, the hayloft or something, and guys holding. Me and my brother, we always tried to do that off our bunk beds, and we get about 2 quick sit-ups. Like, okay, I'm done, and so but who doesn't try that? But great, it's a pretty cool montage. And then I definitely like it. It holds up. I loved when he was doing the ascending up the mountain. I thought that was awesome, where you just see him.
And then you know he's ready because he finally he outruns the KGB. They're chasing him still in a Mercedes, and he actually outruns them. and spins around and runs up the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
So and almost like it's kind of like the stairs,
Yeah.
at the first one. So runs up the mountain and he's ready and boom. You get the big fight starts.
Yeah.
Boom, it's in the ring. Um, Oddly enough, the champion is in the ring first. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think that's ever happened. I don't think the champion comes in second from what I've always
Yeah.
seen in every fight I've ever watched.
Of course,
Um,
he had to vacate the championship, so he's not the champion anymore. In
was
order,
that? Oh, that's right. The press conference.
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
he had to
That's right. Oh,
vacate it
yeah,
to fight, and because he puts
that's
the
right.
championship belt on Apollo's casket, and
That's
then
right. Yeah. So he's,
I never remembered that as a kid, and watching it again here, it's like a quick blurb that they say, "Oh, Rocky, why'd you have to vacate the title here?" And it's like unheard of in history, and they didn't. I think they could have done a little better job of making that more clearer. Because as a kid, I always
yes.
assumed he was still the champ, fighting. But
That's, okay. Well, hey, so did I.
yeah,
Just now.
yeah,
So now you say, I guess, yeah, it all does make sense now. So yeah, it just seemed, so I guess because he's the visitor, like home and visitors, I guess he stays in the ring first, and Drago gets the music as he comes out. Um, so um, and of course he gets the one line, I must break you,
yeah,
which is always like,
yeah,
even as a kid, I always liked Drago's one liners because there's only a few of them, but they're pretty good.
yeah. I still
So
use that line to this day whenever I see something I don't like. I must break you.
I must break you. And the fight happens, and I mean, he just towers over Stallone,
Yeah,
just towers over him.
yeah,
It reminded me of was that Tyson Lennox Lewis fight,
mm,
the first one that they ever fought, where
uh-huh,
Tyson lost, and Lennox Lewis just literally just was like had like 7 inches on him or something like that. It was just like kept jabbing around, like didn't even let him get close to him.
yeah,
So uh, if anybody watch, yeah, go to YouTube and watch that fight. Um, yeah, so classic Rocky Drago wins at first, starts winning.
mm-hmm,
He's kicking his butt, and then Rocky, starts to slowly come back,
yep,
and they're sort of going through they're not definitely not doing the Apollo thing where they're going round by round by round. They're definitely just skipping a few rounds, and
yeah,
you're just kind of seeing it, kind of round 6, round 7, round 8,
yeah,
and looks like Rocky's coming back. They're both sort of now they're almost like equal. They're kind of beating the shit out of both. They're kind of both barely hanging on, and uh, so then it turns into sort of a brawl. Like they're just like grabbing each other and they're starting to beat the crap out of each other. And he takes him to the ground or something. And then but because of Rocky's tenacity and the fact that he is sort of an underdog almost looking, the crowd starts to chant. The Russian crowd starts to chant Rocky,
mm-hmm,
Rocky, Rocky. Which the heads up of the Russian guys, they're not digging that so
yeah,
much.
yeah. They're
They're not
they're
happy that
they're not appreciating that. I think a wave of firstborns are going to be killed because of that sort of.
uh,
But
hmm So of course, last round, they're fighting it out, and Rocky basically just wins. There
mm-hmm,
was no real giant punch, or they
yeah,
both, the other ones were definitely done better
yeah,
they both get knocked out or whatever, and so nope, he just kind of punches him, just starts wailing on him, and Drago goes down. Boom. They give him the 12 count. It's over,
mm-hmm,
and um, and then they give him the microphone, and he does this crazy long speech after just doing 12 rounds,
yeah,
and by this gigantic man just beat the shit out of you, but you can still go ahead and talk for 15 minutes
right.
about everything.
Be the peacemaker
And
between two warring or Cold
yeah,
War nations.
If I could change, then you
Yeah,
could
yeah.
change.
Then everybody could change.
Then everybody could
So it's like,
change.
you want to watch two guys in here killing each other? I guess it's better than 20 million. It's like,
Which, if you're from the 80s, it made sense
yeah,
because we were sitting on the edge of nuclear war with these guys on
right.
a constant basis, especially in 1985.
Yeah,
So if you were, nowadays not so much, but back then it
yeah.
really was a real possibility that tomorrow you could wake up and you'd hear that buzzing sound
Mm-hmm.
and the thermo nukes were being launched at America.
Yeah.
So at least there was a possibility of that.
I-
So, but it reminds me of that time when we were trying to not. So they try to hammer on Russia, but then at the very end they kind of pull back and say, "Hey, look, we're not all."
Mm-hmm.
They're trying not to hammer, because they knew this Russians were going to see this movie,
Yeah,
and so they didn't want to. They did the same thing with Bond. Remember,
yeah.
in they did it purposely. They did that on Bond, especially in the Roger Moore era. They purposely tried to make Russia not the enemy
Mm-hmm.
because they knew they were going to watch this movie and they didn't want to sort of provoke them. They wanted us to be more of a, let's
Yeah,
just, let's
totally.
be more friendly because, Roger Moore at the end of what Spy Who Loved Me, he chucks the decipher thing and he's like, you don't get it. I don't get it,
Right. Yeah.
So it, it reminded me of that. They're kind of trying to like say, hey,
Right.
let's
Yeah.
tone it down a smidge.
You're human. We're human. We can live in this world together, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So
It's definitely
yeah.
felt, like you said, it's definitely a product of its time. But now being away from that for 40 years, it's like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
interesting to see, like you said, that's what it was right then and there, and you felt the patriotism, I mean, I did when I watched as a kid, I mean, it wasn't like, okay,
Mhm.
well, let's kill Russia or anything like that, but yeah, you can definitely,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
here we are, in 2025, it's like, it makes me laugh that Rocky is the face of national,
Mhm.
unity amongst the Soviets and the Americans, but hey.
So right. And of course, Survivor. The song again is by Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, it's uh, it's an okay song. The theme to Rocky Four,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's definitely no okay because it's what the burning heart,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just about to burst.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
it's not Eye of the Tiger by
right.
any stretch of the imagination, nor is it you know gonna fly
Right.
gonna fly now or whatever. It's those two songs. I don't care. You could be uh, you know depressed out of your mind. You listen to those things, you're gonna be pumped up,
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You're
Yeah.
gonna you could be half asleep. You listen to that Eye of the Tiger, you're gonna be wanting to go punch some meat in a freezer somewhere.
Yeah.
But um,
Because I was gonna
yeah,
say, it's like I was very disappointed they didn't use the original Rocky theme like at all in this movie. I mean, there's a
right.
little bit where Adrian and him, or when she's like, "You can fight," they strum a couple keys on the piano to it, but other than that, it's
Right.
yeah,
Well, at the very beginning, when the two gloves come out of the ground or whatever, the two boxing gloves
hmm
come up out of it. That the Rocky theme's going then.
I thought that was
But that
Eye of the Tiger.
was it. Eye of the
I think
Tiger.
it was Eye of
Jeez,
the Tiger,
maybe you're
yeah.
right.
Because I watched it
Uh,
twice because I wanted to make sure that I'm like, did I not
okay.
hear it at all? But yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, that burning heart. I mean,
Yeah.
80s as
It's
80s can get with a little side of
eight.
80s on the side. I mean, it's just like
I mean, it's not, but yeah. So definitely, yeah, not the music I
no,
was hoping for.
yeah,
Yeah, not definitely didn't have any of the catchy songs or So
hmm
it's like you said, it's a pretty paint by numbers type movie. Nothing special, nothing bad, but nothing special.
yeah, yeah,
Nothing. It's just it was
yeah. It doesn't
like
stand out. It's not. Like I say,
right.
I know why they made it because they would have been dumb not to, because of the big
Hmm.
payday involved with it. But at the same time, for the
Hmm.
story side of it, it's kind of like, it's a little, You
Hmm.
know, I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely paint by numbers. We're gonna okay, he's gonna overcome odds again. I mean, it's a shame Apollo had to die. I was
Right.
actually just daydreaming about this yesterday. Of thinking this would have been a good Apollo standalone movie. You know, to kind of maybe spin off
Hmm.
Apollo on his own movie. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It was
I would have
dumb.
loved that, but you know,
Yeah, that was dumb to kill him off. They left money on the table on that one.
yeah,
So, but so yeah, that was Rocky Four.
yeah, it's Rocky Four, and he, you know, this kind of a bitter sweetness where I think this is the end of our Carl Weathers little. I don't think he's in
Hmm.
any more movies. We've done 5 with him, and
Hmm.
it's kind of
Yeah.
I don't know, funny, sad, whatever. Where the last Arnold one we did, he dies, and now the last Stallone we talk about with him in, he dies.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
I
like
guess
ooh.
so.
But
Mm.
I will say again, you know, I've said it before. He is in fucking tremendous shape. Just still, just looks.
All three
Yeah,
of them in that
it's
movie
just
look amazing. He
it's
looks
a
just as good as he did in the first one.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, if not a little better. You
yeah,
know, I
that's
mean,
not better.
it's
Yeah.
like a beefcake parade with those guys walking around. So
Well, and yeah, and and then but teaser. There might be one more, one more. Um, not Apollo, but Carl Weathers in our future.
yeah, yeah.
There
There's
might
a
be a little sidestep that we take, but
yeah,
that's just a little teaser for everybody out there.
yep.
So
Stay tuned. Yeah, we're not done
stay
talking
tuned.
about Carl Weathers, but we.
Yes.
I mean, we'll
So
definitely
stay
show
tuned for
respect
that.
where respect is due. Because, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean,
So yeah. So for me, Rocky Four was definitely not like you said the lesser of the three of the
mm-hmm,
four.
mm-hmm,
It's just yeah. It's it's there.
yeah,
It's especially seeing it later on. You're like, oh yes. Now that I'm an adult, by far the first three,
mm-hmm,
much more superior movies,
mm-hmm,
hands
yeah,
down. So yeah, if they just would have done a trilogy, it would have been one of the best trilogies series of all time.
yeah. No,
But
I
like
agree.
you said, why leave money on the table? This thing costs yet another 300 million
Mm-hmm.
for making this. Sure, I would have done it too.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't blame him for it. I was never a huge fan of it. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
you know, again, looking him, I mean, it's kind of cool now that we've gone through, you know, the first 4 Rockies, where it's like I can literally say, okay, well, this, you know, or how I can rank them as my favorites, and they're still fresh in my mind. And yeah, after
Mhm.
watching this one the first time, because you know, I ended up watching it twice. The first time, I
Mhm.
was kind of like, okay. I mean, you know, like I say, there's some things I remember, and a lot of stuff I didn't remember, just because you know I'm a kid, or I guess
Mhm.
85. Well, I guess I'm a teenager at this point, but still, you know,
Sure.
you know, for me, it was everything was measured to Rocky 3, because that was still, you know, I mean,
That was still, yeah, in my mind, as a kid, even that was still the
yeah,
superior movie.
yeah, you know,
So,
I mean,
mhm.
if I had to rank the Rockies, I would probably the first 3 are literally I would take the first 3 in order just because of the quality of the movies, but they are so close that it's like if
Yeah,
it'd be a 3-way tie for first, to be honest with you,
sure.
because they're
Yeah,
all just great continuations. And then, like
yeah,
I say,
yeah.
I don't dislike this movie. I never
Right.
disliked it. I appreciate it a little more now. You know, like I say, for just seeing the what it was. I mean, it's comical to think of the Soviet U.S. Cold War, but like you said, you know, we were so close to the nuclear war so many times at that time of
Yes.
history that
Yeah.
we can kind of take a step back now and be like, oh God, at least Rocky was there to
Hmm.
smooth smooth the
Well,
ruffles of irritation
right.
between us or whatever. But
Yeah, keeping people calm and
yeah,
keeping hope alive. And I'll tell you that we're talking about montages and Rocky. Um, One of the best montages, like just it, is at the end of European Vacation,
yeah,
which you've seen and I've seen millions of times.
yeah,
it's the song "Back in America,"
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
But it's just snippets of different things in America. And of course, Rocky is such a pop icon that boom, he just has his own little,
Yeah.
because they show Clint Eastwood
Yeah.
and I think it's Josie Wales, but they show just Rocky, as Rocky, or Sylvester Stallone as Rocky. But it's I encourage anybody just to watch that movie and to just to watch that montage at the end or whatever, maybe on YouTube. And but yeah, and it's got just crazy stuff from the United States all over, just different pictures like you would be if you were going on a vacation
Mm-hmm.
back in the day and just taking snapshots of random things. But yeah, it's of course Rocky is so iconic that it was on that.
Oh,
As
absolutely.
kind of just as and that was they were just showing things that were American,
Yeah.
and not definitely Rocky was American. So
I
yeah.
mean, it for, to kind of, I guess, piggyback on your thought there is like Rocky is so well known that, even a younger kid, if you say the name Rocky, not all of them may not know who you're talking about, but I'm
Right.
pretty sure a good percentage of younger people out there, if you just say the word, Rocky, they've had a dad that watched it, or an uncle, or their grandpa, or
Yeah.
stumbled upon it
Yeah.
somewhere. I mean, because we still have two more Rocky movies in our future to talk
Yeah.
about, so it's like
Right.
it did make a comeback, and a couple decades after this. But yeah, like you said, it's definitely, when you think of America, Rocky's got to be in the pulp culture zikes there. That
Yeah.
so
Well, so how comes to the big part, the hard part? Which one do you prefer?
yeah, for me, I this one's not as hard as the last one, because I think the last one was
Hmm.
definitely the most difficult one for me to choose from. But on this one, I'm just gonna have to go with Schwarzenegger, because I liked how he played the character on the Running Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like you said, some of his one-liners didn't, or some of the one-liners, I should say, weren't quite up to 80s
Hmm.
par, but
Hmm.
he had some pretty decent ones. I think for me, the Stallone side is kind of some Rocky fatigue, just because we've
Yes.
seen the great. Now we're kind of, we've reached the pinnacle, and now we're kind of making the slow descent. But I will say,
Right.
when we get to the next one, I'm kind of looking forward to that one, because, well, spoilers alert, I always like the fifth one a little more than the fourth one. That's just me, and I know I know a lot
Okay.
of people hated the fifth one, and I get it, but like I said,
Okay.
when we get
Okay.
there, I will
Yeah.
dive a little deeper into my thoughts on that. But no, I'm going to
All
go
right.
with the Running Man. We're going to go with Schwarzenegger for me on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and have to agree with you on this one. Just not anything with Stallone's performance. Obviously, he was still great, amazing shape. Paulo, like we said, can't say enough about that movie. It's just great. James Brown, the whole thing. But I just love the premise of The Running Man. I just think that the whole it's just a better written movie. Of course, it's from a novel, so
Yeah,
it's going to be it's a little different as far as that goes. This is the fourth of a franchise, but I definitely love the premise of The Running Man. I love the way that it's like we said, the technology sort of a lot of relevance today. Even though there was definitely some cheesy, and that's why I said I would really like to see a remake because of that. But yeah, I'm gonna I love Rocky Four. It'll always definitely have a place in my heart, but definitely probably gonna definitely go with Running Man on this one.
yeah. So that's or update our tally here. So that's three for me for Arnold. I'm still a little bit on the Stallone side, and that's five for you for Arnold. And you're on the Arnold side with, let's see, two Stallones. Yeah, so we're both, or I should say, you're a little more Arnold and I'm a little more Stallone, but that's all right, because I'm a little country and you're a little rock and roll. So, but
Absolutely.
so
All
yeah,
right.
that'll wrap up this one. For our next episode, we're actually going to do a solo Stallone, because, well, this movie has to be a solo Stallone, because this one's got a lot of stuff that we need to get involved, or get off my chest, I should say. Um, we're,
Yes.
we're going to be doing Cobra with a solo Stallone because yeah, I don't want to give away too much of my thoughts for Cobra, but yeah, Cobra is going to be by itself. We do have
it's just too much of a movie to have it even go up against anybody else. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
So we're gonna do
Cobra is its own thing.
a deep dive dissection of Cobra, and we want to make sure that we can give it the proper time that it
Yes,
needs to fully express
yes,
how we feel about that movie.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
we are also working on another surprise for this one, so make sure and check that one out. But yeah, so you know, I guess that's it for this one. I want to thank everyone for hung out to this point, and if you like what you hear, wherever you're hearing us at, if you want to help us out by maybe rating us or leaving a comment or a subscribe wherever you're checking us out on, we'd appreciate it. And if not, that's cool too, because you know what? We got a whole lot more content to make, so we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, anything you'd like to add with that, Darren?
No, that does it. I just tune in for the next one, and it'll be great. We'll have a lot to unpack, and we'll have a great, great next episode. And we appreciate all of the listeners.
Right on. And with that, we again want to say thank you, and we will see you next time.